Away. Lakers fine-tuning against the Suns. Chris Paul sitting this one out with ankle soreness. His teammate Devin Booker took charge, got the team off to a hot start. Booker had 15 points on 5 of 6 shooting in that first quarter. He definitely set the tone. He steps back and hits a 3, knocks it down. Booker had 27 points, 8 of 12 from the field. But what about LeBron? What about Anthony Davis? Is that what you're wondering about? I thought so. Here's LeBron. Here's AD. They were pretty good. Davis finds LeBron, who hits a 3. Then LeBron would finish a layup through contact. That always works. 5 minutes left in the half. Lakers down 18. It's LeBron James, who had 20 points, 8 boards, 4 assists in 25 minutes of play. As for Anthony Davis, just incredible from long distance. I mean, big time. There's an example. You want another example? It happened a minute later. Knocking down another 3, 6 of 7 from three-point range was Anthony Davis, and it continued. Well, you know, you're going to give him the space. He'll take advantage. Anthony Davis had 35 points, 11 of 16 from the field overall in this one. And I think they're ready for the regular season, don't you? They took out the Suns. It was close, but you won't remember the score, but I'll tell you anyway, 114-113.
A slow start.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. Matter of fact, I expect them to. I wouldn't mind if they do. I have no problem whatsoever. When we talk about load,
2 months since the Lakers won the title in the bubble, and last night LeBron and AD went back to work, combining for 21 points in yesterday's preseason win over the Suns. Perk back here with us. Stephen A., starting with you. Will you be worried, though, if the Lakers get off to a slow start?
Not at all. Not even a little bit. Matter of fact, I expect them to. I wouldn't mind if they do. I have no problem whatsoever. When we talk about load management, as much as I have been profoundly against that over the years, it's with the exception is LeBron James. If LeBron James, for any reason, said, you know what, I don't want to start playing until January, as a league, we should stand up and support him. Seriously. I mean, with the work that this man has put in, it doesn't bother me at all. And so I know he's not going to do that. That's why he showed up there last night. He's going to be ready for opening night, at least to some capacity. But I think that if the Lakers do start off, I'm not concerned at all, because not only are they great, they're experienced. So when you look at LeBron James, I think that this is one of the rare breeds that has graduated to the point where he doesn't even need to be questioned about anything that's taking place in the regular season. Everything about him should be measured by postseason play. If this guy decides to take his foot off the gas, if he decides when to amp it up, whatever the case may be, you defer to his judgment. When you've been to 10 NBA finals, when you've won 4 championships, and when we just finished experienced a global pandemic, the likes of which we hadn't seen for a century, and somehow, some way, when we consider the collapse that we witnessed with the Los Angeles Clippers because of them being devoid of leadership and what have you, although it was nice to see Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Kimmel last night. Bottom line is that LeBron James and the Lakers didn't have that problem. And so I don't think there's anything to be worried about with the Lakers, a slow start or anything like that, because they have the greatness of Anthony Davis, who's one of the top 3 players in the world. And they have the best player in the world, who's the best leader in basketball. And that man is LeBron James. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about.
I don't know what's happening today, but for the second straight segment, I don't know maybe I have a fever or something. I don't know. I'm coming down with something. I agree with Stephen A. I agree, maybe for slightly different reasons, but right on. I'm not worried about the Lakers' slow start at all. Stephen A., let's be honest. The LeBron James teams of the past have often started slow, right? Miami had a slow start at one year. Cleveland had some slow starts, because LeBron's figuring out, how do I get this group to the promised land? And in the meantime, he's 100 years old. He has more miles than anyone on his legs, and he has to pace himself. Now, last year, Anthony Davis came on First Take and told us he challenged LeBron to set the tone on defense. And I think AD was probably right last year, like with a new group of guys and this superstar combination. It's important for your best player to set that tone. And for a lot of the season, LeBron did play better regular season defense than he had in years. But given his age and his mileage, it's, I think, not responsible even to expect him to play defense, for example, all regular season. And sometimes the other guys on the team, even if AD's setting that example, slack off a little bit too when their leader doesn't do it, although Montrezl Harrell plays some defense, some other guys will too. The point is, LeBron knows how to pace himself and knows his body. How do I get to be in the playoffs where when I need to put the pedal to the metal, I still got something in the tank? He's usually done that in the past. This past season, he basically kept the pedal to the metal all year. But I wouldn't even recommend that he does that again. He's signed up for multiple years. He needs to pace himself so he's ready to go when they need him most. And if the Lakers get off to a slow start while LeBron's figuring it all out, no big deal, because when the lights are brightest, he'll show up.
Well, I'm not worried about the Lakers at all. Matter of fact, the only thing I'm worried about is the Lakers coming out and dominating the league. Because when you look at this roster, in my opinion, this is the best roster on paper that LeBron James has had in the last 4 years. And no disrespect to last year's championship team, but when you look at the additions that Rob Pelinka made, I'm looking at this, and LeBron can pace himself. He can take games off and do load management because they have weapons. They have guys that could come in and get the job done and deliver in great fashion. And when I say that, I'm looking at a guy like Dennis Schroeder, who's capable in the regular season, especially is capable of going for 30 plus a night. You got Montrezl Harrell, another guy that's capable of giving you 20 a night if LeBron just decides not to play that night. And then you have Anthony Davis, along with Wes Matthews, along with Marcus Gasol, along with Taylor Horton Tucker, who keeps thriving, and even Kyle Kuzma. Although I disagree with his style of play at times, although I disagree with Kyle Kuzma at times on how he plays the game of basketball, one thing about it, when he gets hot, he gets hot. So with the Lakers roster, job well done by Rob Pelinka, I'm worried about them coming out and dominating too early.
Oh, I'm sorry, Max. You did. No. I was going to. I'm sorry, Max. I thought you was
No,
going to
I
go.
mean,
Listen,
jump in.
I'm not
Stephen
worried.
A.
I'm not
worried.
But,
I'm not
but
worried
Stephen
about
A.
this
Max,
early.
Stephen A. and Max, that's how it be. Sometimes y'all get quiet when Big Perk come on here speaking the gospel. Y'all get caught up in what I be saying and loving how I'm delivering this good gospel. And sometimes you just got to fall back and listen. Yeah, that's what it is.
First of all, you know better. Secondly, respect your elders. Thirdly, and more importantly, that is factually incorrect, Kendrick Perkins. I mean, the fact of the matter is you do drop a lot of science, and I love you to death. But there are some things that you say sometimes I'll be wondering about you, bro. I'll be wondering about you sometimes.
Yeah,
not most, not all, but sometimes, yes.
I feel sorry for your loss. Because you're not being open-minded. When I tell you certain things, I'm just trying to teach you.
I was just under the impression you wanted to debate us on this, that you thought that you would be worried if they got off to a slow start. But since we all agree, next topic.
All right, Perk, leave it, folks, at a loss for words. Don't worry, I got plenty more topics to come your way. Still to come, guys. It doesn't look like the Heat are getting their respect.
The way Lakers fine-tuning against the Suns. Chris Paul sitting this one out with ankle soreness. His teammate Devin Booker took charge, got the team off to a hot start. Booker had 15 points on 5 of 6 shooting in that first quarter. He definitely set the tone. He steps back and hits a 3, knocks it down. Booker had 27 points, 8 of 12 from the field. But what about LeBron? What about Anthony Davis? Is that what you're wondering about? I thought so. Here's LeBron. Here's AD. They were pretty good. Davis finds LeBron, who hits a 3. Then LeBron would finish a layup through contact. That always works. 5 minutes left in the half. Lakers down 18. It's LeBron James, who had 20 points, 8 boards, 4 assists in 25 minutes of play. As for Anthony Davis, just incredible from long distance. I mean, big time. There's an example. You want another example? It happened a minute later. Knocking down another 3, 6 of 7 from three-point range was Anthony Davis, and it continued. Well, you're going to give him the space. He'll take advantage. Anthony Davis had 35 points, 11 of 16 from the field overall in this one. And I think they're ready for the regular season, don't you? They took out the Suns. It was close, but you won't remember the score, but I'll tell you anyway, 114-113. We now welcome in our George Sedano, who worked the sideline in Phoenix. And George, let me tell you, for the first time this season, you know this, we saw extended minutes from LeBron and Anthony Davis. How much, though, are we going to see them early on in this regular season?
You know, Linda, it's interesting because LeBron on The Shop on HBO, his show there, was joking with Barack Obama, the former president, about how he may cherry pick the beginning of the season. And look, I do think there's something to be said about the quick turnaround, 71 days from their last finals game to their first regular season game. So I could see where LeBron and Anthony Davis are going to play limited minutes. Now, good luck trying to get LeBron to do that, but I do think it's in their best interest. And the Lakers are so deep. Marcus Gasol is an addition. Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Wesley Matthews, and of course the young guys like Kyle Kuzma and Talen Horton-Tucker have been playing fantastic for them this preseason. They're a deep team, Linda. They can legitimately go 11. And the young guys, I mentioned THT, he's a phenom right now. This is someone LeBron spotted back in high school, and he's been mentoring him through his draft process and the 2 seasons with the Lakers. So they're looking pretty good as far as their depth is concerned to help AD and LeBron.
All right, George, let's talk about Chris Paul. He got the night off for the Suns, but what impact has he had overall since he arrived in Phoenix?
Well, his impact we'll see on the floor once the season starts. Certainly we saw that in OKC last year, Linda. But you already see the process has started with a Devin Booker and with DeAndre Ayton, 2 young stars. Devin Booker already an all-star. And they think that the maturation process can be accelerated with those 2, and they can hit superstar level heights with a guy like Chris Paul kind of leading the way and teaching them what it's like to be a professional.
Lakers open up the regular season Tuesday against the Clippers. The Suns host Luka Doncic and the Mavs Wednesday night right here on ESPN. George Sedano, thank you, reporting from Phoenix.
You got it, Linda.
With you. If PG-13 and Kawhi are at their best, can they beat the Lakers this season?
I think if they're at their best, first of all, I don't think anybody's going to beat the Lakers, but if they're at their best, I think they've got a shot. Is it this Kawhi Leonard? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Kendrick Perkins. Is it Kawhi Leonard the best player on the planet? Oops, I'm sorry. Or was it whoops, Kendrick Perkins? I'm not sure what Max was saying. I'm not sure, Kendrick. But if Kawhi Leonard without the oops or the whoops, if Kawhi Leonard without the whoops or the oops is the best player in the world, and Paul George is hell-bent on resurrecting himself, this ain't the 70s or the 80s or even the 90s where you could throw it down low to Shaq and, drop step elbows yamming on your mug. It's a new day. It's a new era. Perimeter play on an extremely high level can knock off a lot of people, and no matter how great they are. I'm saying that's what it would take. I don't think it will happen by any stretch of the imagination. I got the Lakers as a favorite by damn near a mile. But if the best of PG and the best of Kawhi showed up, it could be very, very interesting.
I hate to do it, Stephen A., but I agree with you here. Loath as I am to agree with you. I think they could. Here's the problem. I don't believe in Paul George in the playoffs. So, the answer is no. But if Paul George played as well as he could play in the playoffs, if he elevated somehow, because some players actually elevate in the playoffs, like usually Kawhi Leonard. In fact, he did it again in these playoffs, except for in that Game 7. And I know, Perk, you thought I was wrong and you were right about LeBron no longer being the best, but you had Kawhi as second best. I mean, Kawhi is an elite MVP caliber player, and when it matters most, he's usually among the best you'll ever see in the playoffs. So you have that. Can Paul George do something like that? Paul George in the regular season ain't that much worse than Kawhi. Can he be some version of Kawhi in the playoffs? Because then when you look at the team, look, LeBron's not going to be young forever, right? Eventually you would think, all people decline with age eventually. Stephen A. just brought it up, the perimeter game. 2 attacking wings, 2-way wings especially, that's tough to beat. Jordan and Pippen and LeBron and D. Wade, right? That's tough to beat. And then you look at what else the Clippers did. Ibaka can defend and shoot. So can Morris. Defend and shoot. Kennard is an upgrade over Shamet. He could do more things, and he can also shoot They have shooting. And then finally, the Lakers lost Rondo. I like the Schroeder move a lot. I think Schroeder's an upgrade during the regular season. It remains to be seen in the playoffs, because one thing we know about Rondo is playoff Rondo is real. When it came down to it, the Lakers had 2 MVP caliber players and an all-star caliber player in Rondo. Rondo's not there anymore. So would it be possible? Yes, it would be possible.
Hell no. Hell no. Look, Kawhi at his best and PG at his best is not matching up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis at their best. And Stephen, I heard you go to the point when you was talking about how it's a perimeter league now where it's guard play and wings. Well, look, it's Anthony Davis. He is a Shaquille O'Neal. He is a Kevin Garnett. He is a generational talent, something that we've never seen before. And the worst thing that could have happened to the NBA, not just the Clippers, but the entire NBA, is that AD got to test the waters and went all the way to win a championship. Meaning he went through the highs and the lows of being battle tested and testing those waters. So when you look at what Anthony Davis was doing in the playoffs, what he did to Portland, what he did to Houston, what he did to Denver, he killed those bigs in the low post. He took them outside. He did everything he wanted to do. At his best, at Anthony Davis' best, he is arguably the best player in the league and could possibly be an MVP candidate for the next 5 years. And by the way, this is a guy just hitting his prime at 27 years old. So, no, I'm looking at Anthony Davis, and he's the common denominator in this whole argument. He is the best in the league for us being able to use his skill set at that height, being able to defend 1 through 5s on the defensive end, and he is the one that separates the two between the Lakers and the Clippers.
Well, KP, it's something important that I want you to recognize here. First of all, the question was PG and Kawhi's best game. That's number one. Number two, we're still not picking them to beat the Lakers. Nobody's picking them to beat the Lakers. We understand that the Lakers are better. Nobody's disputing that. Yeah, but what I'm saying is when you look at PG and Kawhi, let's pay attention to something. When we ask the question, their best, we're assuming in terms of their best on both ends of the floor, defensively and offensively. And even though there is no answer for AD, you have to remember the stronger, because you ain't taking AD down low. You're not going to be a monster in the interior with him. The nightmare for him is somebody that can jack up shots from long range and somehow, some way, even if their eyes are closed and they pray, and somehow it's going in from 30. That's the problem for AD. That's the problem for LeBron. And what I'm saying is, even though I don't believe for 1 second it's going to happen, if you have two guys that can play on an elite level like they're capable of playing, and they bring their A+ game to the equation, I will say this: the Clippers are the #1 threat to the Lakers under those circumstances. Would you say that?
No, not really. No, I would not say that, because for the simple fact that, Stephen A., you go back to the first series that the Lakers played the Portland Trail Blazers in Game 1. Right. He was telling Anthony Davis that he needs to dominate in the interior. Game 2, he did just that. And he carried it on. Even in the Rocket series, he was dominating in the paint, getting dunk after dunk, setting up shop on the low block. And that's what I'm saying. AD at his best is better than a Paul George at his best. Now, you could say Kawhi
I know that.
At their best maybe wash each other out. And then what I'm saying is, on top of that, the Lakers have the better roster. How do you win the championship and you go and upgrade more than the Los Angeles Clippers, who didn't even meet that goal?
All right, the Lakers won 2 of 3 against the Clippers last season, but all games were close, but decided by 10 points or less. We're going to continue this conversation after the break here on First Take. Also this,